All right, this show, we're just going to go ahead and completely skip the headlines because we got good stuff to get to. Interviews galore, including the son of the king. That's right. Richard Petty's kid, Kyle Petty, is joining us on the program. Petty hasn't been called that in a long time. By the way, the sports news powered today by the Red Zone over on Regent Street, Conan Automotive in Stoughton. Interviews coming up next on the sports news on 57 Sports. Very cool thing, the annual Kyle Petty charity ride across America, now in its 23rd consecutive year, and it continues to grow by leaps and bounds. In fact, nearly 8,000 riders have logged almost or collected almost $18 million over the 23 years. And the ride raises funds and awareness for Victory Junction, which is a camp dedicated to providing life-changing experiences for children with chronic or life-threatening diseases. Very cool stuff. And here to talk about it is former NASCAR driver, NBC Sports racing analyst, and the co-star of Stroker Ace. Yeah, you remember that movie back in the 80s. Kyle Petty is joining us here on the Sports News. And Kyle, welcome on in. And if you could, talk a little bit about this charity ride and what makes it so successful year after year.
You know, that's a good question. I don't know what makes it successful. We started this thing, there was 25, 35 of us that really wanted to ride motorcycles from California to North Carolina. That first year, we raised a little money for charity and gave it away, and we thought it'll never get any better than this. And the next year, some of those guys came back and said, let's try it again. So we did it again, and it's just evolved into what it is. 23 years later, we've raised $17.5 million, sent 7,500, 8,000 kids to Victory Junction, visited, 23 different children's hospitals in the early years coming across the country. So it's grown into something that is pretty phenomenal, but I don't know why it grew, and I don't know why it's still here, but it's a lot of fun to do.
Well, hopefully you had something to do with it, and it's great when you see something like that take on a life of its own. So when we're talking about the ride itself this year, what's the route that you're taking? What are some of the highlights of that route?
Well, you know, this year's route, my wife Morgan and I, we went out and rode the thing and came up through, I guess we left Portland and went to Walla Walla, Washington, and over to Missoula, down through Yellowstone and then to Cody, Wyoming. Then we leave Cody and we go to Deadwood, leave there and go through Mount Rushmore and the Badlands, and then we go over to Mitchell, South Dakota, up to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And excited about that, excited to be at the Harley-Davidson Museum and the birthplace of Harley-Davidson, excited about that. But, you know, I guess we're going to see, obviously, Yellowstone, you're going to see Mount Rushmore, you're going to see the Badlands. I'm looking forward to the Corn Palace in Mitchell, South Dakota, and looking forward to the world's largest ball of twine assembled by one man in Darwin, Minnesota. Those are going to be the two highlights for two of the highlights of my trip this time.
It's funny because about 20 years ago, I took that exact route, kind of in reverse, Wisconsin, out to Montana, through Cody, saw a rodeo, everything, all that stuff you're talking about, including the Corn Palace. It's a great ride. And the ride's beneficiary, the major beneficiary, can you talk more about them?
Yes, the beneficiary is a camp that my family built here in North Carolina. My oldest son, Adam, was killed in a racing accident in 2000. I had been very blessed and very fortunate to go to Boggy Creek, which is a sister camp to this, and had driven a sports car with Paul Newman in a couple of races. And that's part of his group of camps, the Serious Fun group of camps. His original camp is Hole in the Wall in Connecticut. And obviously Newman's own products go to support so many different camps. But we built a camp here in North Carolina. We've seen about 27,000 kids in the 13 or 14 years that we've been open. The Kyle Petty Charity Ride is responsible for about a quarter of those kids that have gone to camp. It's totally free of charge. We see children with chronic and life-threatening illnesses. They don't pay a dime. We pay to bring them here, pay for them to go to camp and have that camp experience. So it's an incredibly special place, and the ride is an incredibly group of people that care about those kids and want to give back.
Yeah, what a great legacy to your son as well. How many riders are on this? And we talked about all time, you know, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 8,000. How many join the ride on a yearly basis?
On a yearly basis, we have probably 115, 125 bikes. That's probably 150 to 175 different riders. And then you throw in the support vehicles with our medical team, with our luggage team, our PR people, everybody that goes along with us. There's 220, 230 of us that travel across. So it's a traveling band of gypsies, it looks like, when you roll into town with that many motorcycles and that many different support vehicles with you. So it's a huge undertaking.
Wow. And when does that traveling band of gypsies pass through Wisconsin?
We're in Wisconsin on the very last day, which will be the 19th. We leave Minneapolis, Minnesota on that Friday morning. We're coming down through Winona, Minnesota, going to a place there, Windcraft, that does a lot of stuff in the racing industry, a lot of, I guess, banners and pins and things like that. We're going to stop there, and then we should be coming into Milwaukee, Wisconsin later that afternoon. We hope to get in about 3:30, 4 o'clock that afternoon, just in time to take a shower and head to the museum, because the Harley Museum is going to be one of the highlights of the trips, and having dinner there is going to be special for all of us.
Beautiful. You're going to love that trip through Winona, Minnesota, and through God's country, through La Crosse and Wisconsin. It's absolutely beautiful, and I know a lot of our viewers are going to be looking forward to it and hopefully going to be able to see you and contribute as well. Kyle, good luck on this ride. Love to see it grow every year, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Hopefully we're getting to that point in time of the year where the golf courses in the area are kind of drying out after a very soggy April. As we bring in right now Mike Eversole, the head coach of the golf team over at McFarland, to talk a little golf with us. And Coach, welcome on in. And if you could, give a little resume of where you've been, how many years you've been doing this at McFarland.
Yeah, I've been coaching at McFarland for 13 years. I started the girls program back in 2004, and I've been coaching with the boys program for the last 5 years as assistant, and now this is my first year as the head coach of the boys team.
Yeah, nice to be able to be at the helm of that. And if you could, talk a little history of the McFarland boys program. What kind of successes have they had through the years?
McFarland's golf program has been very successful. We've had 12 state qualifying teams, and then we've most recent one would be the year 2013, and we've also had a 2004 state championship. So we've had quite a bit of success.
Yeah, sure. And so far as this team goes, what's kind of the makeup of the team that you have? Is this a senior-laden experienced team or a young team, and how does that work for you?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is one of our younger teams. We have 13 freshmen and sophomores on the team, and we only have 2 seniors. It's the first time in quite a few years that we've been this young.
You know, a lot of people, when they think about team sports or played team sports, they played football or basketball or baseball or something like that, and they know the lessons that they could take from that. Now, golf as a team sport and playing golf, what are some of the life lessons that you could take away from playing golf?
Yeah, it's really interesting because the game of golf, I think it parallels quite well with life. There's a lot of ups and downs. You can get caught up in, all of a sudden you have a bad few holes going, and you got to know how to bounce back, how to take those misses and make them successes. And that's one thing that we're trying to help, especially our young players, understand, that things can be going well for you, and you can't get too high and content with that, because things change real quickly. And the same thing when they go poorly, you've got to make sure you can turn that around real quickly, which again is a lot like the game of life.
No doubt. You know, we got about 25 seconds left. Coach, quickly, if you could. Yeah, I know you said you have a young team. Who are some of the leaders, though, on this young team?
Yeah, I'd say for sure that the 2 seniors we have on the team are the leaders. They've kind of taken the underclassmen under their belt and have helped them understand what it takes to be a successful golfer. Zach Moore and Seth Howery are the 2 seniors on the team. I think overall what's probably been best about the team in itself is the whole team has a 3.6 grade point average, so they take their studies very seriously.
Good stuff. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks much.
A special thank you to Conan Automotive in Stoughton for supporting local athletics.
You know, it was only a few months ago. Yeah, you know who you are. You made that New Year's resolution, said I'm going to stay active, get in shape, do all of that. And that's kind of come and gone. And so now what we want to do is get you moving again, get in shape. And along those lines, what we're going to do is bring in right now Dirk Gessler, and he is the owner at CrossFit Recursive. And Dirk, thanks for coming on to the program. And let's talk a little bit about CrossFit and your business and how you can help get people active again.
Great. So what we like to do is bring people in and get them having fun in the workout. Because if you're not having fun, it's going to be hard to keep doing it, right? It's going to be hard to stick with it. So we get them in, we have fun with the workouts. We work hard, but we move on and get the rest of our day going.
Yeah, and how much better it is to get in shape when you actually are having fun. So as far as what CrossFit will do, and I'm not sure everybody knows exactly what CrossFit is. If I decided, hey, I'm going to go to your gym, what would CrossFit do for me?
CrossFit is going to, like I said, it's going to get you moving. You do a lot of different movements. You're always learning new skills, perfecting skills, which definitely helps with the, coming back and keep doing it. And very shortly after you start, you're gonna, feel better, sleep better, less stress. It all works together.
Yeah, all good stuff. And if I participate in another sport, how can CrossFit help me get better at that sport?
CrossFit's great as a general physical preparedness. You work on your sport, you focus on one movement a lot, and then that can lead to injury, where CrossFit gets you moving across all the planes of movement, so injury prevention strengthens joints and bones, things like that.
Yeah, my son and I actually talk about it all the time. And if we're watching baseball, they're used to doing these one movements. Anything out of the ordinary, they seem to get hurt a lot.
Correct.
And it seems like CrossFit could definitely help with that. As far as actually doing CrossFit, what are the risks of injuries, or are there general risks to it?
There's general risks to anything, right? Like, people get hurt playing basketball down at the court at the park all the time. But, we have highly trained coaches that are always there watching to make sure that you're not getting injured. Because, if you're injured, you can't work out, and that's not going to help, right? That doesn't help anybody.
Absolutely. Now, this summer in Madison, the CrossFit Games are coming. What's that all about?
It's this massive competition. CrossFit tries to find the fittest on earth. That's their tagline. So they'll bring in hundreds of athletes, and they'll all compete over 6 days, kind of down to a winner at the end. So it's a lot of fun to watch, actually.
I think it ends up televised and stuff like that,
Yes,
and hopefully we'll have some highlights and pictures in our headlines to show you as well. So, okay, this all sounds good. It's going to be fun, going to get in shape, reduce injury, help me with other sports. How do I get started, Dirk?
Just call the number at the bottom of the screen, and we'll set up a no-sweat intro, bring you in, we'll sit down, we'll talk about your goals, what you want, where you want to go, and we'll find the right way to get you there.
And the intro is going to be the only thing that's no sweat, hopefully. So, good stuff. Dirk, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
A special thank you to Conan Automotive in Stoughton for supporting local athletics. All right, we get a chance now to go out to the Diamond and talk to the ladies of the Diamond, the Stoughton Vikings senior captains. We have Morgan, Madison, and Kaylee who are joining us here today. And welcome on in, ladies. And we want to teach people what Stoughton softball is all about. So what would you like people to know about Stoughton softball?
Well, I would like to know that people, even though we had a rough season start to it, that we're trying to finish the season off strong. And we might get a little people that don't really believe in us for the winning because we had such a rough start, but we're gonna finish off the season strong and make our fans proud.
That's a great attitude, and it's an attitude that says, hey, there are some highlights to come. But so far in the season, even though you've had a rough start, what have been some of at least the highlights that you've all have had?
Well, our fort game last Tuesday, we had our highest level of intensity and positivity, really. It was really our peak of the season so far. And I just think if we keep playing like that, then we'll have a really good end to our season.
Good, that's something to definitely build on. And speaking of building, you now are seniors, you've been playing in Stoughton softball for a while. What has being part of the team, being part of Stoughton softball meant to you?
Stoughton softball has really allowed us to become part of something bigger and represent our school. We've all come together so much, learned about each other and how to work together as a team. It's allowed us to become a family, and I think that's what it's all about.
Always good to be connected like that. Now, you talk about that the best part of your season is still to come, that you got some highlights, you're going to get better after a rough start. What are some of the expectations that you're setting for yourself for the rest of the season and for the postseason?
Some of our expectations are keeping our intensity and positivity up. Especially as Madison said about our Fort game last Tuesday, once the intensity went up, our level of gameplay went up. So we're planning on keeping that up, keeping positivity, focus, and staying energized throughout the entire games.
Absolutely, good stuff. Now, you ladies are at the point in your tenure in high school where you got to start thinking about the future. What comes after graduation? What plans do you guys have?
Well, for me, I plan on attending UW lacrosse to pursue in elementary education and in hopes to become an elementary school teacher.
Very cool. Yeah, so it's good to have that kind of stuff and the afterthoughts. Now, for young girls that are looking to play varsity baseball, I know my daughter at 9 years old, she just started down the path of softball and she loves it. What kind of advice do you have for girls that are looking forward to doing that?
I think a lot of it is stay positive and play each game like it's your last, because you never know what could happen, what will happen. You got to leave it out all on the field.
Absolutely, that intensity is so important. Ladies, thank you so much. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
A special thank you to Conan Automotive in Stoughton for supporting local athletics.
You know, it's always cool to cover multi-sport athletes, and we're getting a chance to do that right now as we talk with Obi and Trudy Ifediora. They are with Verona Area High School. We got to see them way back when in a football game that we covered earlier this year. Now we're going to talk some track. And fellas, welcome on in, and if you could, talk about your preparation for the track season. What did you guys do? How did you prepare for it? And when did all that training start?
Basically, we just had like a slower version, lower intensity version of what we're doing in season now. So like tempo, which is just like lower intensity running, and then speed days, which is just sprinting. And we've been doing this, I want to say, since like, I want to say early winter.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we've had a lot of time. And yeah, we've just been basically just a lower scale version of what we've been doing in season.
Okay, I would think it would be kind of hard to be motivated when the season's that far out. What did you guys use for motivation to begin your training so early?
Well, actually we've had big goals since like the ending of last season and everything, and we've just been using that as motivation to push ourselves throughout the whole winter training. And we've always just had high expectations for this team and this class especially. So we always kept that in mind the entire winter and the whole preseason.
You know, both of you guys are pretty darn fast. In fact, you both broke your own records in the 55 dash during the indoor season. How does it feel to be the two fastest at that distance and also being twin brothers?
Yeah, it's a great feeling. I mean, I kind of like know we had the potential to do something like this because we always just push each other, and he's always like my biggest competition. So, I mean, if anyone were to do it, I feel like it'd be us because we're just so competitive, and yeah, we're just our best competition, each other.
You guys also were able to win a very big meet, the WTFA Indoor State Meet, and that was for the first time in school history. You guys beat 97 other schools. How did that feel? What did that feel like winning that?
It was amazing. And that was also the same meet where we had both broken our records in the 55. So yeah, that just added a whole other level of excitement, and it was unreal.
Incredible stuff. I remember even reporting it on the headlines right here on this show. I mean, that was absolutely great. So as far as goals for the remaining outdoor season, what are you guys looking to do?
Just keep winning. Like, I mean, we got records we want to break. There's still a couple records in the short sprints, like 100, 200, that we feel like we can take down. And if we run to the best of our ability, then either one of us should be able to take down these records, like 100, 200, just
even in the relays.
Yeah, even relays. Like 4x2, I think it was 2015. We were on a 4x2 that broke the school record, and we're thinking we can take that down easy.
We'll be looking to report on it right here in the Sports News. Fellas, thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having us.
Brought to you by Conan Automotive, taking care of you by taking care of your family's car.
Welcome back to the Sports News. We are talking to a four-time Olympic gold medalist, WNBA superstar, and no stranger to an active lifestyle. This is Lisa Leslie, who is joining us. Lisa, thanks so much for chatting with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica, for having me.
So you have a lot of roles, obviously off the basketball court as well. An actress, model, and author, appeared on Celebrity Apprentice, serving as a sports commentator. A lot on your plate, but
I definitely have a lot going on. I wear a lot of hats, from sideline for TNT and covering NBA, or being on We Need to Talk for CBS Sports Network. I've also been traveling around the country doing a book tour. My second book is now out, From the Court to the Boardroom. I recommend you get that at FromTheCourtToTheBoardroom.com.
Well, I'm sure that's a good read with all of your experience and everything that you have going on in your life. How do you manage with this busy schedule to make time for your family?
Yeah, you know, what I love about having these different jobs is that I really don't have to be somewhere from 9 to 5. I get a chance to be home more than I'm working. But the good part is it just comes down to balance, trying to figure out, you know, a typical day for me at 6 a.m. I'm up making breakfast and dinner and really preparing meals for my kids. Meal prep is something that I highly recommend. It's just a tough job to really make sure that you have these healthy foods for your kids. And so for me, that's really key. And I'll just tell you, I like to prepare things. You see there's fruits and vegetables here and some nuts in Larissa's Kitchen. Well, Larissa's Kitchen is a product that I really stand behind. It has 11 grams of protein in it. It is responsibly raised, grass-fed beef, no MSGs, is gluten-free. And so I talk about the balance of protein and carbs and making sure that our kids are getting the proper nutrients that they need every day.
And do you think, I'm sure it has, how has being a professional athlete kind of shaped your views on what's good to feed for yourself and your family?
Yeah, I think as a professional athlete, all I can think about is my trainer saying, get your protein, get your protein. You want to pack on your protein, especially if anyone does a workout. You have an hour window opportunity where that protein is really going to help your muscles. And so that's what I say for my kids, is that I let them sometimes look at products and look at the back and see how much sugar is in that. Is that really making a good choice? And when you teach your kids, we are their first teachers. We have to make sure that we're educating them to make some good, healthy choices. Reach for a piece of fruit as opposed to that packaged, you know, there's always fruit that's in package in some sort of fake juice or some syrups that they don't need. Have a real piece of fruit. I recommend it. It's good.
Well, I think those are great tips and really helpful. Just a few seconds left, any last minute tips you want to share with moms at home?
Yeah, absolutely. To find out more information, you can go to larissaskitchen.com, and these are the products that I really reach for. I love the Korean barbecue beef. That is definitely my favorite. And to get my book, again, it's From the Court to the Boardroom. You can find that on IamLisaLeslie.com as well.
Well, Lisa Leslie, congrats on all of your success. Thank you for sharing your health tips with us today. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Jessa.
We'll be back with more sports news coming up after the break.
Hey, a big thank you to all of our guests that made the show possible today. Also, of course, to our sponsors, including the Red Zone over on Regent Street and Conan Automotive in Stoughton. And a big thank you to you as well for watching, as always, as you have been tuned in to the sports news right here on Wisconsin's 57 Sports.